Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars. SoundCartel. We know that good, strong relationships are fundamental to business success, and it's imperative to build relationships across as many channels as possible. But could COVID-19 have put a dent into customers really feeling the love? From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. Someone who understands this challenge only too well is veteran marketing expert and international speaker Barry Urquhart of research and strategic planning practice Marketing Focus. He says digital tools may have made it easier to buy from you, but they don't cater much at all for the personal touch. And that's where businesses can lose out over time. Chris Ashmore asks Barry whether COVID has made it even more difficult to maintain those relationships.
Yes, it has been, for one simple reason. Relationships are about interaction. It's about trust and empathy, understanding, caring and compassion. And when you're socially isolated, you are removed from a lot of the emotional cues of relationships. And relationships are built up on trust and communication. And when communication is now being channeled by Zoom, all of a sudden, Zoom is Zoom phobia. People can click on, connect, but where we lack, and this is based on relationships, there's little engagement. So all of a sudden, you're in a meeting, you're connected, but you're doing something else and you've turned the stereo off and then the children come in and the pets come in and all of that sort of... So there's too many distractions and therefore the quality, the resilience and empathy possible of a relationship is very much constrained and limited.
And because of COVID, there's a big push these days to go digital, not just with communications, but with marketing, with customers. Does that also have dangers, the marketing side?
It has profound implications and ramifications. There are consequences, and I think this is the point. As you go onto social media, it seems to be that the relationships, and there's the key word, are more transactional. Deal by deal by deal. Now, it means, interestingly enough, and this is very much heightened with the COVID scenario, when people are looking for a product, they go online, they canvass cyberspace, they determine what is available, where it's available, what price, and they actually transact, in many instances, online and get home delivery. But that doesn't establish a relationship that next time when they have that product, there's an innate preferred location. I'm going to go there because I got a great deal last time. They go through the same process of scanning what is available. Therefore, the relationships are very tenuous and based on transaction by transaction. Hence, customer loyalty, repeat business, referral, and developing ambassadors online is very much the abnorm rather than the norm. Marketing is founded on two fundamental pillars, and that is opportunism and communication. When either of those are compromised, the relationship, the resilience, and the consistency and continuity of business development is very much compromised. What we need to do is to say, what can we do to communicate?
Can you go into detail then, Barry? What does that mean to have a better communication, a better rapport with customers?
What we need to do in business is understand the nature of relationships. And in many instances, where the deficiency lies centers on one word: personal. When people are wanting to reach out, they want to speak to an individual. And so insurance companies will often speak to our receptionist and they will nominate the name. And so everyone takes that persona. So it's the personal relationships, it's the personal customer service. It's not the process, it's the outcome and the sense of empathy, understanding, because in many instances people say, I've got unique circumstances, unique problems, and they don't fit to the 6 options that you've given me on social media. I am unique, different, and I want you to understand, because in many instances, I hear this in research repeatedly, you just don't understand. In communication, now this is an interesting sort of perspective. When you look at social media and it comes through to you on text, the street language is, Chris, what you said in your text. Now, think about the Freudian slip there. We are still reverting back to the spoken word. 70% of communication is the body language, the ambience, the nuance, the pregnated pause, the emphasis. I didn't say you stole the money. 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 One sentence told 7 times, 7 different interpretations. I speak at seminars. I do presentations. I do addresses. Go to the Macquarie Dictionary. There are 17 different interpretations of the one word address. So when we are communicating with people, whether it's written form, whether it's text, whether it's spoken, whether it is whatever medium it is, we've got to understand the 500 words most used in the English language have over 20,000 different meanings. What is it that you're trying to convey? Because you know what you're trying to project, but the receiver, through all filters, and then in many instances, in the absence of body language, in the absence of inflection, pause, phrasing, personal face expressions, are there left to interpret what it is that you said, intend to say, and more importantly, what you expect me to do in response to that communication.
There's a brand new podcast series out now called The History of the Australian Startup Ecosystem. It goes right back to the 70s and examines the evolution of the Aussie startup. Guests include Canva co-founder Cameron Adams, former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, and some of Australia's top VCs. We think you're really going to love it. Follow the history of the Australian startup ecosystem wherever you listen to podcasts, and the link is also in the show notes of this episode.
Barry, one area of service that's come into its own during COVID is home delivery. What can you tell us about meeting customer expectations in the home delivery area?
Prior to the pandemic being declared in February 2020, there was this delineation of demographics and psychographics, and we spoke about the now consumer. They were Gen X's, Gen Y's, or the millenniums. Today, everyone, regardless of their demographics and psychographics, whether they're Gen X, Gen Y, or even post-war baby boomers, are today now consumers. Very high expectations. Instant gratification. Now, included in that value package today is the expectation that there will be products on the shelves when I go to the supermarkets. If I'm looking for toilet rolls, if I'm looking for pasta, if I'm looking for whatever else it may be, and I am confronted with empty shelves, the likelihood is I won't come back. It may be an aberration, but then it's not going to be the sort of things where I'll take a rain check and say, oh, well, not available today, I'll come back. No, I want it there. I want it there at all times. And so home delivery is part of the now consumer, now in global environment of immediacy and instant gratification. Therefore, it's not so much a matter of if you are going to do 2 hours delivery, it goes back to, have you, like Jeff Bezos and Amazon, got a consumer obsession? Are you obsessed with meeting the consumer's expectations? It therefore is the question, what is it going to take for you as a small business operating in Australia, whether it's in the city, the metropolitan areas, regional or rural areas, what would it take for you to deliver home deliveries within a very limited period of time?
And it doesn't matter whether you're local or not, so long as you can fulfill that order from the customer.
Let me pick up on the understanding of local. Many people in business still operate in an analog era. It's kind of local is demographic. It is geographic. How close am I? Is it 1 kilometre, 2 kilometres or 3? No. In a digital world, local is a click away. I want to be able to click, it's there, I want it. So therefore, we've got to think differently. It's not what we do, it's how we think in this digital world today. So everyone can be local. A fashion designer, in a book that we wrote, Professor Roger Smith and I, on entrepreneurs, and she said, it always annoys me that people say, oh, you're the fashion designer from Perth. She said, no, I'm an international fashion designer who chooses to live and operate from Perth. I have got stores in New York, London, Sydney, Melbourne, and around the world. It's not that I'm going to be constrained or limited to that sort of thing. So her perception was herself being very, very different to what other people said. So don't necessarily lock yourself in that here I am in regional Victoria in Swan Hill. No, Swan Hill is as accessible in New York, London, or even Stockholm as the local people down and across the border at Bordertown. So let's stop thinking about local being geographic. It's accessibility, and it can be done by social media. It can be phone calls, it can be text, but above all else, it can be knocking on the door and speaking to people.
That was Barry Urquhart, marketing strategist at Marketing Focus. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow at BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.